What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Kakis, and today we've got some brand spanking new Destiny 2 news, courtesy of the Bungie weekly update that has just gone live, revealing official information. And so, let's get started. But really quick, that silky smooth background gameplay and the fact that I'm able to render these videos in like 2 minutes is thanks to my partnership with Apex Gaming PCs. They built me a monster PC, and they can do the same for you. Guys, check the link in the description down below. We got 3 different models, and if you use code KAKISHD, you can save up to $250. Definitely worth taking a look at if you're in the market for a new PC. But first off, let's talk about what's going on this week in Destiny 2. Now, the big thing is that we have the launch of Guardian Games, the final event for Season 16. So you can compete for your favorite class that's currently ongoing, but really the thing that's got everyone's interest this time around is that there's a unique weapon available, the Title Legendary SMG. There was a bit of a problem when Guardian Games first launched, and aside from one base title that you would get for the, intro quest, you couldn't get any more to drop. But last night, Bungie did fix that, and Title SMGs are dropping like crazy. I did do a video going over the best ways to farm medallions and therefore farm Title SMGs, so definitely check that out if you want to get that god roll. But additionally, this week the Fallen Saber is the featured Grandmaster, and I mentioned that because it's actually quite farmable. You can get your runs down to 10 to 15 minutes, and the Hothead rocket launcher, arguably the best legendary rocket launcher in the entire game, is dropping. And this is really the last week this season to get that. So absolutely, I would recommend, if you can, farm those GMs. Of course, I've done a guide on how to do so. But moving on from there to the brand new information within the TWAB. So, I'm sure a lot of you guys remember the absolutely massive TWAB, arguably the biggest ever, that happened a couple of weeks ago when Bungie was previewing sandbox changes that were starting in Season 17. We got stuff like huge changes to Airborne accuracy, Flinch, a ton of buffs and nerfs, etc. It was absolutely massive. In fact, it was so big, Bungie is dedicating a huge part of this week's TWAB into answering some of the frequently asked questions and expanding on a lot of the things they talked about in that massive update. So, first off, they talk about Flinch. First off, how does flinch resistance work? Well, it directly scales the angle your aim moves by when you take damage. So if you have 60% flinch resistance and you would normally be flinched by 10 degrees, you would be flinched by 4 degrees instead. Now, they also define scalar, saying if you have a 0.65 scalar on flinch, essentially you take the flinch, you multiply it by 0.65 to reduce it by that amount. And here are some common scalars, which is very interesting. So no distractions is 0.65 times. Suro Synergy is actually 0.8 times, 1 unflinching armor mod is 0.5 times, 2 is actually 0.7 times, so you really don't get much of a bonus for stacking those. That's good to know. Also, Rally Barricade 0.5 times, that's pretty substantial. 10 Resilience is 0.9 times, 100 Stability on an auto rifle 0.75 times, and 100 Stability on a sniper rifle 0.9 times. Not right now, the stability thing will start to apply next season. Moving on from there, they clarify some things about airborne effectiveness. So, can an airborne effectiveness penalty take you below 0 in the stat? No, 0 is obviously the base. Then the tiers in the Mega TWAB were just general examples of performance within range. Also, in most cases, there is a linear progression from 0 to 100. With the exception being the accuracy penalty angle on primaries, which is going to be flat from 60 to 100. Now, interestingly, they say, how does airborne effectiveness interact with the accuracy perks? So they say technically accuracy perks, like opening shot, apply to your airborne accuracy cone as before, but because accuracy while airborne is generally better than before, they're taking away the randomness, you'll feel the benefits a little bit less. So you might not need to stack those accuracy buffs if you're jumping around in the air. Then they say, can you clarify a precision aim assist? Well, they essentially say when you're on the ground, the full aim assistance cone is used to determine if you get a headshot. Then if you jump in the air, there's going to be some aim assistance, but it's then going to look at where you're directly aiming because that precision cone is going to narrow substantially. They actually have this graphic that's a good way to illustrate it. They have the worst key I've ever seen in my life. They don't even reference the figures in it. Like, Bungie, what are you doing? What is your formatting? Anyways, so essentially, number one, you're on the ground, right? So you have that large aim assistance cone, and then the red circle basically inside that is going to determine if you get a headshot. This is what happens if you're using something like a hand cannon that has a ton of aim assistance. You're shooting in the shoulder, it still gives you the headshot because it overlaps with the head. Then in figure 2, you jump in the air essentially, right? Now you have a lower aim assistance, the blue circle, and it's also looking at where you're directly aiming. And as you can see, the red circle doesn't overlap with the head. You're going to get a body shot. Then with figure 3, you have significantly more aim assistance when it comes to those blue circles, and so on console it's gonna like slow your aim down if you're strafing across this and all of that stuff, but that precision cone, because you're in the air, is still that small red circle. You're not gonna get a headshot. So it's gonna be like figure 4 where you have that aim assistance, like let's say you have again like 60 airborne assistance, and that precision cone is slightly over the head, then you're going to get a headshot. So all of this is to say it is going to be significantly harder to land precision shots while in the air. Airborne effectiveness is going to help that stat, but it won't be giving you free headshots and nowhere near as many headshots as when you're on the ground. Moving on from there, Bungie talks about the changes coming to the PvP ammo economy due to the fact that they're disabling scavenger mods in the Crucible starting in Season 17. Firstly, all scavenger mods are being disabled, so something like bow scavenger, even though there are no special bows, that's getting disabled. Now, people are asking, are you trying to bring back the double primary meta? They say no, they do want, running double primaries to be a bit more viable, and I mean running something like a scout rifle combined with an SMG, or often you have like a hand cannon or a main weapon combined with a sidearm as your kind of longer mid-range option combined with a close-range option. That's something that people are definitely doing right now. That is going to be a bit better. In fact, they say an interesting kind of thing that's going to happen is that you can use double primaries to essentially starve your opponents of special, because you won't drop special if you're using double primaries, which is interesting. But again, they say they don't want double primaries to be the only thing viable. They just want to kind of reduce the amount of time people were using a special weapon essentially as a primary and just constantly having ammo for it. Moving on from there, we have some weapon archetype FAQs. So does the lightweight pulse rifle buff apply to the BXR battler? They say yes it does, and that is pretty interesting. Also remember, the legendary trace rifle is getting those trace rifle buffs, which is super cool. Then they clarify that slug shotguns are indeed getting the damage fall off changes, but obviously not the accuracy cone angle changes, but they are treated like special weapons and have an airborne accuracy penalty. Something interesting is that aggressive, aka the horizontal spread fusion rifles, the one from Europa, is not getting changed by any of the fusion rifle tuning, so maybe that's gonna be decent? Now, something else I've personally been wondering is that Bungie talked about adding full auto as a toggleable option in the menu. Turns out it was supposed to arrive in Witch Queen. It's not going to arrive until something like Season 19, unfortunately. Now, Bungie also drops a bit of a hint here saying trace rifles and machine guns are both getting buffed. Does this suggest future anti-champion trace rifle and machine gun mods? They just say no comment, which again, I think that's quite the hint right there. Now moving on to the exotics. So Vex Mythoclast, it's a fusion rifle technically, but how is it being treated in terms of airborne effectiveness, the stability, flinch resistance, all of that stuff? Well, the airborne effectiveness stat is 19, but it's being treated as an auto rifle for translating the stability stat into flinch resistance and all of that stuff. So keep that in mind. Also, the wave splitter isn't actually changing that much. The damage variability, so how it goes up and down in damage, apparently is still changing, but the changes to the orb max charge time are still accurate, and also it's going to provide that suppression to targets as well. And then guys, moving on from there, the last thing we're going to talk about is the fact that the community actually voted on what tomorrow's Trials map is going to be via email. Hopefully this is something Bungie does more often so we don't get maps that no one wants. And the winner was Altar of Flame with 44% of the vote. And so guys, that is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.